who will then have a profound impact on the world and those around them. Dr. Steffens has served on panels as an education expert with former U.S. Secretary of Education, Dr. Rod Page in Washington, D.C., and his board member for the International Literacy Association. His mentoring and self-empowerment program, the Gentlemen's Club, has been featured in the Oprah Winfrey Show, as well as America, America, which broadcasts to 2 million viewers in Portugal and Brazil. Dr. Steffens is one of the most sought-after speakers in the United States. Please join me in welcoming both Dr. Peters and Dr. Post. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. Hope you've all had a great day today. Awful lot of information out there at the booths and certainly in the sessions. I love what Dr. Pogue said about connecting and building your professional network and how important that is. So to give you a flavor, to wake you up just a tad, we're going to show you a quick video about how ILA can serve that for you. So welcome to ILA. I really like that video because it talks a lot about the progression that we need to make to be able to serve those of you in the profession of education, and how important it is that we continue to adjust what we do in order to meet the needs of students. So, I'm gonna move on. It is weird, isn't it? Like, I know, like, there we go. Okay, great, it's working. You know, I have it here, but it's like up there. It's kind of hard to see. I thought it'd be great to take the time today to talk to you a little bit, to give you a flavor of how we translate what we do to make it important and meaningful and relevant in your work as teachers. So, we have a mission, and quite frankly, the basic part of that mission is to translate research to practice. And I'm going to walk you through real quickly a recent survey that we conducted and show you how critical an issue that is and why it is important to teaching. Did it change? So, just want to make sure. Okay, good, cool. We're there. All right. In the, ILA has produced over the last many years the What's Hot survey. We don't do it annually, we do it periodically, and we use this information to kind of take a temperature of what teachers in the classroom are facing, what issues they have before them. Interestingly enough, each year that we've run this survey, the major respondents are teachers in the classroom, although we also have administrators and higher education individuals on faculty, and so those who are scholars and doing research. We also have literacy professionals and consultants. In previous years, we had broadened this survey and actually included like publishers and those that were sort of residual to the topic of literacy. But in the past year, we narrowed the survey down and got a lower response, but we expected that because we really wanted to get the voice of the literacy educators on this survey. So this truly comes from those individuals who are out there in the world. This is a global survey. We had 1,443 respondents, as you see there. We had 19 nations in total represented that responded. So remember, as you look at some of the results of this, that what's important and critical changes depending on where you are in the world. So what may be the hot topic here in the United States, often in our work as an international organization, we'll have our colleagues who will say, wow, I can't believe like science of reading is a big topic in the United States when we're not talking about that in Ireland. Or we're not talking about that in Taiwan. But what's really interesting is they are talking about it in Australia, and they're talking about it in South Africa. So while there isn't always a commonality, but at the same time, we'll find those nations and areas that are grappling with similar issues. So let's take a look at the top 5 topics. This is really interesting, because each year we've run this survey, early literacy is number 1 over the past 5 surveys that we've run. Every time there is a major emphasis on needing to pay more attention to the skills and the development of skills of our teachers in the classroom for teaching early literacy. That includes not just reading, but certainly the foundations of reading, the methods we deploy in terms of instruction for teaching reading and writing at the earliest grade levels seem to be very much a commonality, and that's worldwide. There needs to be more support for that. Determining effective strategies. This one actually percolated up from the last survey. This one sat at about 5 or 6, the last round that we did 2.5 years ago. But so now there was a call among teachers that we really need to have better strategies to pull from in order to meet the needs of especially those youngsters who are struggling to learn to read. That could be that little glimmer of the phonics discussion that's going on around teaching of reading right now. Number 3, equity and opportunity. Now let me tell you that number 3 and number 5 have also remained in the top 5 over the last 10 years of this survey. It continually comes up. We need a greater preparation in order to teach all learners in the classroom, and we need to be able to provide greater access to high-quality books and instruction. Those are tenets of our children's right to read. I didn't include this on this slide deck today, but if you check us out at literacyworldwide.org, you'll find a reference there to how critically important these two elements are. And then increasing professional learning, which again is an item that comes up year after year in this survey. There's no question about it that this is important. As we go down, though, one of the most interesting pieces for us, I'm going to pull up this next one. It's a little tricky because, you know, I'm working that one back there and trying to work this one right here. Less than half of the teachers surveyed felt that they were equipped with the skills they needed to be effective in early reading instruction. We've been having a lot of debate about that, as you can imagine, in our association, but that's pretty striking of a finding in that that was very highly ranked, and yet 69% of the teachers that responded felt that their literacy preparation was pretty good. And also remember, we are still in the process of aggregating some of the findings in this study, one of which is, in some cases, that's not as relevant to that particular person, depending on where they're teaching currently. And also, again, the global factor here. We're not sure how much that comes into play here, but still pretty compelling, especially for our teacher preparation programs, to know this and to understand what is the basis for preparing our teachers for early reading instruction. This was an interesting one. So a quick question out here. How many of you have been aware of or have heard of the discussion or the debate going on again around phonics instruction, especially for kids with learning disabilities? So this is a big thing. And I'll tell you what, most of the discussion is taking place on Twitter. And a lot, for those of us that are in and around the discussion, it hinges on what really is the science. Whose science are we talking about? And what does the science say, and how is that translated? I want to focus on that one for a minute because the findings related to that were pretty interesting to us. Whereas the response on this particular question, we kind of expected a greater percentage response here, but again, we didn't get it, and we do feel that that's because while it's a big hot topic here, it is not a hot topic in Europe. It is not a hot topic in Asia, and a lot of the representative samples that the respondents came from other regions of the world where this is not quite as big an issue, and yet it's not confined entirely to the United States. Again, I'm hoping that that's moving while I could be talking to a slide, and you all are. Okay, yeah, one more. Let's go one more. So that was the phonics. This is the one I really want to focus on, though, because the most interesting finding that came out of this study that was unusual, unique to this study that we hadn't seen come up, and I do believe that you could probably link it as closely to the science of reading debate going on, was an interest in the critical importance of teachers being up to date and current with research. It's the first time we've had this question responded to as strongly as it was. So 93% find that research is the backbone of literacy instruction. Now that's not so surprising, but 50% of the teachers that responded thought that it was a top responsibility of literacy education, consultants in higher education, professionals to stay on top of the research. And for teachers to say that, we thought was really intriguing because we had not heard that. So we hear it from higher education, we hear it from those that are devoted and disciples of the research, but we hadn't heard that from teachers. But we're hearing it now. And what we also heard in this survey was 44% of them said they needed help with that. They need help not just reading it or finding it, but digesting it, making sense of it, especially if they're making sense of it for instruction in the classroom. So for those of you that are about to embark on your profession in teaching, Maintaining your connection to what's happening in research is critical, no matter what area of that, whether it's the content area that you intend to specialize in, whether it's the child development research that helps you understand how to interact and work and develop children, all of that becomes really important. What was also very interesting in this finding was that 85% agreed that the academic experts and the professional associations have the highest responsibility to keep that in front of you, have the highest responsibility to support you in the classroom with the knowledge behind that research. So we thought that was really, really interesting information. And again, this is the first time we had seen that particular response in relationship to questions around research. Here's another really interesting one, and this is way up from the last survey of this question that we did 4 years ago. And that is that 82% feel literacy educators should be accountable for addressing inequity and human rights in their classrooms. This was an interesting one. We took the equity questions, as we started asking these about, I believe it was 7 years ago, when we started asking the questions around equity, we weren't as specific in it. And this year we drilled those questions down more specifically. Equity in what regard? So these were much more interesting responses, we thought, to this study. Quick FYI on this. So literacyworldwide.org is our website. You can access this information without a membership, although if you join us, you'll get more information in behind it. But a lot of our information, our literacy briefs, all of that is available to you without cost to it. So I encourage you to go there. You can read the full report and the analysis of that report there. So let's talk just quickly about what ILA is and what we do. I talked about, we prepare and support teachers in their work. That's the biggest part of what we do. We feel that our connectedness is actually right here at this university, getting in on the ground floor with you as you're preparing your path to teaching in the classroom, and knowing that you've got a whole network of people around the world that you can connect to and that can help you in your journey as a teacher. We also, and again, I'm going to just check, make sure. Yeah, it does a little bit off. Okay. You may not know this, but we set the standards for literacy instruction for teacher preparation programs in the United States. We launched our national recognition program just a year ago, and we actually make our visits and help universities develop their programs for literacy based on those standards. Interestingly enough, in this round, which is our first full round of recognition, Grambling is one of our applicants right now. So we do site visits, we come in, we work with the university. If they meet the standards, they get that recognition. If there is issues related to meeting the standards, we help get a university to that point, get that program up to point to where it can receive this national recognition. No other organization in the United States can convey this to a university program, only the International Literacy Association. We actually own those standards, if you will. We've got 3 journals. I mentioned about that. Now, I will tell you, you need to become a member if you want to get a journal. Actually, you can purchase the journals without a membership as well. But again, you might miss the conversation that goes on around them. We host a lot of interactions and webinars with authors of different articles that are in there. So there's an opportunity to really engage in the information rather than just reading it. We also produce, this is another really terrific open access for you. We come out with literacy briefs and position papers on key topics that are hot right now in relationship to teaching literacy and teaching instruction. Everything from principal leadership. We did a paper on that. We did a paper last year, released it on phonics instruction. We've done papers on specialized literacy professionals and the role they play in the classroom, what they need to know. It's an exhaustive list of briefs that cover a wide range of topics, open access, so you can go there anytime, get resources, and underneath position statements, you'll find the listing of those and a link to the archive. And finally, probably one of the best things we do is our annual conference. If you've never been, if you get a chance to go, it can be a transformative experience for you. You will meet people from all over the world, make friends all across the world and across the United States, and enjoy just a wonderful opportunity for networking and adding to the value to your learning and improving your instruction. So I'm going to turn the clicker over to Dr. Peters now and let him talk with you about what this looks like in action.
Thank you so much. So let's give Marcy another round of applause, please, for the work that she does. And so months ago, I heard a governor of a certain state, I won't mention that state, say that poverty is the enemy of education. And I responded during the comment time that literacy is the vaccine for poverty. And earlier today, we engaged in conversation about the issue of poverty in our schools, not only public schools, K-12, but also our universities. And so I believe truly that poverty, when we look at it, is not a disability. We have to think about how we grew up, houses that we grew up in, and so forth. While poverty is not a disability, it can become disabling if left ignored. And so in our school district, where I have the pleasure of serving as superintendent, and I have to now look at the slides. You all have to get this thing fixed. My goodness. Okay, so in the district where I have the honor of serving as superintendent, we identified students, where they come from. One of the first things that we do when teachers start the school year would not be issue a faculty notebook or handbook and ask teachers, let's go through the faculty handbook. I offer busloads of teachers to go into our neighborhoods. We take field trips into our neighborhoods where we see where our children live. And so the picture that you see now is a study session of our after-school program called the Gentlemen's Club, which was what was featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show. These boys didn't have success in school until we clothed them in their worthiness. The blazers that you see have the crest on them. And I asked a little boy a couple weeks ago, how you feel in your white shirt and tie? And he said, Doc, I feel like royalty. And we noticed that from his data sheet, where he used to be a fighter, this kid used to get in 2-3 fights a week. He hasn't had a fight this school year. And so I asked him about that, and he said, nobody fights in church clothes. And so we are now beginning to identify the fact that when we look at these boys, clothed in their worthiness, they look good, they feel good, they act good. And so we are now leveraging that with our girls with a sister program called the Ladies Club. And your provost, my wife, Dr. Angela Peters, heads that initiative up, not only in the United States, but internationally as well. And so as we work through this process, we picture them in our classrooms every day. In our school district, the first thing every child does in every school is reads for 30 minutes. They read actively without interruption for 30 minutes, the first thing every day, every morning. And so then we get the other 30 minutes at home, just like ESPN, 30 for 30. We get 30 minutes of active reading at school, and we partner with our parents for the other 30 minutes at home. I literally record a message every Monday afternoon to go out at 6 p.m. to thousands of homes, reminding parents to turn their televisions off, collect their smartphones from their students, from their children, and it's their time to do the other 30 minutes. What's happened in our school district is because we branded our school district upon literacy. We anchor everything we do with literacy. Our test scores are now improving double digits. We see that students now have stamina. when they take their standardized test. This is a picture of a little girl who told her mother, "I can't go outside with you today on the tractor." Mom says, "Why?" She says, "Because I have to do my 30 for 30. So mom said, "Grab your book." Somebody snapped this picture, and this is when social media works positively. Somebody sent it to me, posted it on Twitter, and said, "The branding of the school district with literacy as the anchor is spreading throughout our county." I would go to restaurants to eat dinner. I would see some of our students in the restaurants with their parents, with their books, reading, doing their other 30 minutes of active reading. We are a big football town. Athletes, football, basketball, everybody's excited about the season. But when football season is over, the very next Friday night, when we generally have a football game, we now have Reading Under the Stars in the football stadium. So we give 500 free books to those who come through the gates first. They're used to coming to a Friday night football game, so we ask them to bring their blankets and their sleeping bags. We have best-selling authors in our stadium doing read-alouds with our children and their families. And so everything we do brings us back to literacy. We also doing breaks in the school year, Christmas break, spring break. We have competitions in terms of how many hours, minutes our students are reading. And when we log those, when they come back to school, I, as superintendent, along with my team, will go to their home and we'll put an extraordinary reader sign in their yard. And so now the community is engaged in what we're doing as a school district as we engage in literacy practices. As a superintendent, I visit every one of our schools weekly. And I'm missing this week because I'm here and other places, but next week I will double up. I will be in 2 or 3 of our schools next week reading to our students. And so as a leader, I believe that leadership is influence. It's not about telling people what to do, but through your example, how are other people influenced to operate and act in your environment? This is a picture of me with our Montessori students. This is National Montessori Week. And so we brought all of them into our district office on buses so that I could, as superintendent, do a read aloud with them. This picture I love because every Thursday morning at 8:30, I read to our 4-year-olds. And in this case, I was getting ready to get up out of my seat, and they all ran towards me and wouldn't let me leave. How many of you know that our children need love, right? They need the content that we're able to give them, but they also need to feel like they're special people in their lives. And that's what Marcy and I were talking earlier, that's what we see here at Albany State University. We don't see professors, we see surrogate mothers and surrogate family members. These students that come here are blessed beyond measure. You all don't have regular teachers. Y'all don't have good professors. Y'all have extraordinary professors. So let's give them a round of applause. These two are two of my, we're not supposed to have favorites, but I tell you, they are brothers, and they have had a hard life. But right now, for the very first time in their experience in public education, both of them were just gifted their navy blue Gentlemen's Club blazers with the crest because they both made the honor roll for the first time since they have entered public education. And so you can clap for that, yes. And so we always say that nobody rises to low expectations. Expectations have to be high for ourselves as leaders, as an organization such as ILA. That's why Marcy flew here, because we are under my presidency that begins July 1st. I will become the president of the board of directors for the International Literacy Association, and we are partnering with 5 HBCUs, the Literacy Initiative. And because my wife is here as provost, Albany State University will be one of those 5 HBCUs selected. We believe that literacy should be everywhere. So while our students are getting haircuts or their mothers are in nail salons, we have books and barbershops. We believe also when they go do their laundry, we have books and laundromats. And we believe that it should spread everywhere. We should be living examples of what literacy is. So we'd like for you to help us transform lives through literacy. Again, Marcy gave it to you twice. I'm going to give it to you a third time. Visit literacyworldwide.org to learn how. We are fast and furious about capturing and inspiring and then teaching. Marcy is an executive director of an organization that does heavy lifting around literacy around the world. We have board members from foreign countries, 3 foreign countries represented on our board this year. And so we are excited about the work that we're doing, but we're more excited about the partnership with the HBCUs, and we thank you for welcoming us here today. Thank you so very much. I know Marcy has to get to the airport, so we want to give her a round of applause and thank her again for what she does. But I will hang around just for a few moments. I think we have 5 minutes that I will take questions from the audience.
Questions?
Okay, any questions from the audience? I think there's a live mic that she has. Thanks, Marcy. Yes.
Back here in the back, sir. First, I have 2 parts to my question. I'd like to thank you for coming out and speaking to us. It's been so inspirational. I have 2 parts to my question. First question, oh, that was loud. First question was, what motivates you to do this work? I think it's important for our students to understand the person, if you would, behind some of this that you do. And I've seen all the research. So that's my first question. If you can share with us a little bit about you and why you're motivated to do the work you do. And secondly, the shoes, sir. If you can talk to us about where the shoes came from. That's just, are you kidding me? Really? Like that? Thank you, Doc.
Well, I'll take the second question first. The shoes are from Louis Vuitton. Yeah, that's an easy answer. So the first question, I can't believe this. So the first question is, I am called to do this work, right? I shared with a group earlier today that I was a Hall of Fame basketball player, and I had 72 full scholarship offers to play basketball in college. And out of the 72 offers, I chose Hampton University, which is a HBCU in Virginia. And I played 4 years of college basketball there. But due to an injury, I did not get drafted into the NBA. Along that same time, what I didn't share this morning was the fact that I lost my dream and my mother within a span of 6 months. And so I graduated Hampton, did not get drafted into the NBA, and my mother passed away at the age of 55 due to lung cancer. So I lost my dream and my mom at the same time. I ended up teaching in an inner city school. It was the worst performing middle school in the area. But I remember missing my first day, my first year teaching. I had the flu or remnants of a cold. And when I came back into the teacher's parking lot the day after I was out sick, first day I ever missed my first year teaching, I had 32 students in my homeroom. And when I pulled into the teacher's parking lot, there were 28 of my students waiting for me when I came in. And when I opened my car door, one of the hardcore gang members said, where were you yesterday? And so I said, oh, okay, it's like that. He said, yeah, where were you? In other words, what he was saying was, we missed you yesterday, right? And so if you become a teacher and you miss a day of school and your students don't ask you where you are, quit. So that was the day that I realized that my calling in life was not to play professional basketball. It was to capture, inspire, and receive permission to teach. And so I have been teaching ever since that day. And this is my 40th year, and I don't think I've ever worked a day in my life. This is not a job. This is a mission on a mission field. This is a calling placed upon our lives. And it's placed by someone that you won't answer to as your boss. I believe one day we'll be asked, what did you do with those students? What did you do with those people that were in your audience when you spoke? I speak to over 100,000 people a year around the world. And I tell you, every person matters. Signing autographs of books don't float my boat. We have 4 best-selling books. But I will tell you what does. What floats my boat is somebody getting what I'm saying, what I'm relaying to you, that this is a mission on a mission field. Albany State University is preparing you. Some of you are within a few months of going into your actual classroom. You will have your own grade book with real people's lives in that grade book. And God is going to ask you one day, what did you do with those children I sent you? Because it is by design, not by chance, that we are in this profession, which, as I said earlier today, is the greatest profession that ever was or ever will be. It is an honor to be called a teacher, and I hope you never lose sight of that. So hopefully that answers your question. Does anybody else have a question? Okay, so the other Dr. Peters, I want to say publicly to you how very proud I am, not only to be your husband, but to say to you how marvelous, how incredible, how intelligent you are to be able to come, to leave our home, to come to another state to accept the calling that's been placed upon your life. And I want to say to you publicly that I got your back. Okay? Yeah. God bless you all.
That's how you choose. Wait.
Could everyone please wait?
I was just saying he's a keeper. We really want to thank all of our students for coming out and partaking in this workshop. Hopefully, again, anytime you participate in something like this, you should leave with no less than one thing that you'll remember and carry with you. Now, I know I heard a lot of good messages today, especially for you as future teachers. So I hope you were listening carefully. And I hope you found that one thing that I'm not going to forget. This is a calling. If it's not, go home, right? If they don't miss you, go home. Find a new life. But it is one that is so rewarding that you have chosen well by choosing education as your future. We want to thank all of our speakers. I don't know that they can hear me, but also all of those guys outside who are panting for you to come and work for them. I heard so many job offers thrown out today. You just stymied them. They just were amazed. So, thank you for being here for them. Otherwise, they would be sitting at those tables twiddling their thumbs. So that turnout was also a wonderful blessing for all of us. So, thanks to all of you. I've had a wonderful day, and I hope you've enjoyed and learned a lot. Thank you.
Now you are dismissed.